and I'm a singer.
Hi, my name is Peyton and I'm a dancer.
And today, what are we doing today?
Today, we are back with a very, very exciting comeback reaction to a group that we love very, very much. And we'll be reacting to Veritvery!
I totally forgot about this.
Veritvery.
Yes, so Veritvery is back today with a new song called Trigger. And I said it like trigger because it is all caps. But obviously, y'all know us. We have watched all the teasers leading up to this. We're very excited. Also, Peyton is even more excited because you never...
If they didn't watch our bias ladder challenge, they don't know either of our biases for Veritvery.
Really?
Oh!
I thought we haven't said it.
We didn't say it last time. So everyone, if you didn't watch our bias ladder challenge, we'll reveal it now because we have picked very biases and people have been asking. Mine is Ming Tan. So I'm really excited for this comeback.
Have I really not? Oh no, yeah, it was solidified after Getaway.
Yeah.
Mine is K-Young. So I'm a little sad, but it's okay. He's in the music video.
Yeah.
But that being said, let's go.
But this is gonna be like the Veritvery storyline.
Oh, it's the circle thing again. The sphere.
And it's this too.
Yeah.
Oh. That's not what I was expecting.
Me neither. Here's a barcode.
One is reality, one is
oh,
like
that
law.
was the other music video too.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to put all of it together.
Oh.
Come on.
Can I turn it up? I mean, the location.
Yeah.
Who did that?
His evil self. Or was it his good self? Are they getting what?
What?
I don't know who's who.
Me neither. Oh? So his bad self is hurting his good self. Right? I just assume the white outfits are the good versions.
I'm so happy. But see, part of me is like, are the white versions the bad ones? Because they have the barcode, like, are they copies? He looks so... What? That was beautiful in the dance, by the way. Oh!
Oh, that was a fun.
I cannot wait to see this.
Down. Oh. Woo! What? Wow, it's great for you too, Hong Min Chan.
That's too scary. He's trapped. Is this why he wasn't in Getaway?
Ah. He was already caught.
Wow. That was the invitation.
Oh. I don't know. I haven't really known.
He's a little overwhelmed. In a good way. Why is it always Boyoung?
Right?
He released them, right?
Yes. Oh.
Oh my god. where to begin. I loved it very, very much. But that's where we're gonna stop with the very, very puns, because I got a lot to say, everyone. I'm already gonna have to cut myself off. Just quickly about the music video. So the black outfits, I'm pretty sure those are like the reality, because you know there's the 3 different versions from the albums. So there's like the reality, those are the real very, very, and then the white are the evil ones, I'm guessing, or at least like alternative very, very. And I'm getting that from the barcodes. And then I think they're trying to get rid of them. Again, Baehoyoung figured out how to release, but it's always Baehoyoung. But also the fact that they like included a little like side storyline for why Minchan wasn't in Getaway in this, I was like, you went as far as to include that in the official canon storyline? I'm so... And then just put a bunch of question marks. But on to the dance. Right from the beginning, it never stops. And man, they hit the ground running with style. Like on the noise that's happening at the beginning, they're literally accenting every part of that with feet movements that sort of reverberate up their bodies. And also Kangminee center there, I was like, doing so well. It doesn't ever stop. There are more suspended moments because Very Very has a lot of musicality, and so you really feel the music when they're dancing. But I realized that even when there's a lot of choreography packed into it, it doesn't really feel overwhelming. And I've realized why. It's because they actually complete their movements. So there's like a beginning to a movement and an end to a movement. Even if the end is the entry into the next movement, they're not really rushing through anything, or they're not cutting anything short. And because of that, you get this sort of complete feeling, but also like you're actually able to watch what they're doing. And it's so nice. Also, when it's Very Very, you have to talk about, or at least mention, synchronization, because they have synchronization in excess. Like, oh my god, my heart, so satisfied. But I think it's more impressive in this dance actually, because it is still all completely synchronized. Like, I even noticed when they were moving their legs off the ground at different moments, their legs were at the same height. And I was like, wow! But I think it's more impressive in this one because it's so stylized. Like in the past, Very Very has aired more on the side of like sharp dancing, and they've sort of moved in this direction with the last couple of comebacks. And then I had to think, like, is that because you've been setting up the storyline even through the dance? But this one's very stylized. Like, they're doing movements that you're familiar with, but they're adding personality to it rather than just doing it straight the way you would learn it in a classroom. And being able to match that as well as the movement itself is really impressive. So synchronization in excess. But just a couple of things that I liked about the dance, because there were a lot, but I don't have time. So for one, the high note moment in the bridge is a great example of musicality. The line that they're singing and the way that it's moving up is being directly shown through the bodies of the rest of the members. And it's even better because it's being done in pairs. Like, they're moving out in pairs the way the high note is being done. And they're literally like harmonizing their bodies the way they're harmonizing the high note. And I loved that moment. I literally rewatched it like 4 times in the live stage. But my favorite thing about this is the trigger movement. And that's because it is obviously like the main point dance of the choreography, but it's very attacking. Like with their arms, it's pushing out like you're actually shooting the gun. But what I liked most about it was if you pay attention to the rest of their bodies, like their feet, they're rocking a little bit on their feet. And it reminded me of like the kickback when you shoot a gun. And I was like, you are portraying both the forward aggressive movement of a bullet shooting out and like what actually happens to your body in one movement at the same time. Yeah, so that's my favorite movement of the whole dance. In typical Very Very fashion, the final movement also extends past when the music ends. Like, that always happens in their dances. There's always an arm movement or something, and it's, you know, because the storyline is continued. But also their performance confidence is just wow. I noticed it a lot in the live stage, but also in their music video. Their facials, every comeback they're going with confidence and with performance quality, and they are earning all of it. I really liked it. I really liked the song too, but it was my job to talk about the dance, so I didn't talk about the song, but I really liked the song too, and I liked the music video, and they all look beautiful. Like, they are just beautiful humans. And Very Very didn't know this, but there was a lot of pressure on this comeback because I know my favorite dance this year is going to be a Very Very dance, and there was a lot of pressure on this one because it was like the first one where all of them were in it this year.
Well, now they know.
So there was a lot of pressure on this, but exceeded expectations. Anna's turn.
Oh wow, they got an E, not an O.
Oh my god, did you just make a Harry Potter reference?
Maybe.
No, they would definitely get an O. They got the top. They like all expectations blown out of the water. Literally blown out of the water. Okay.
Well, now it's time for my comments, and I don't really know how I'm going to follow up Peyton's energy, but here we go. I also really liked it. I don't have a lot of time, so I'm just gonna start in order of the song. So the very first thing that you hear is the ping noise at the beginning of the song to signal the start. It's probably because their whole concept and storyline, but also I think like the sounds that they've chosen convey that storyline really well. That ping noise made me think of like the beginning of a video game, like when your character pops up on the screen, or it's like the start of the simulation. And then also immediately following the ping noise, there's these sort of like distorted loading sounds before you get all the little percussion hits that they dance to. The loading sounds are like the setting is loading in the video game, like the world is building. But then I guess if you think about the music video storyline, as the song goes on, the world is crashing and breaking apart. Anyways, now continuing on to like the interesting rhythm percussion that you hear. It's not exactly like plucking noises. It's not even like chaotic, like oh my gosh, so much is happening, but it's like there's so many different lines and rhythms happening that work together. So it's like a that sort of thing. When the voices come in and the verse officially starts, there's these added sort of like distorted MIDI synth that comes in. And that's so interesting because the sort of plunky percussion that you've heard earlier is so light, like the feeling that you get, because it's also moving a lot, so it feels more like up here. But then the distorted synth MIDI that you hear and also the bass coming in is the complete opposite of that. It's so like down here and low, so the huge amount of space and contrast between those two is really interesting, off-putting. This whole thing is off-putting. And then like as the verse progresses, that bass line becomes more rhythmic. But then the difference between the first verse when that happens and the second verse when that happens, for one, in the beginning you don't hear the like plunking line as much because that's when Tonghan is rapping in the beginning of the second verse. But then also at the end of the second verse, the section right before the pre-chorus starts, the bass line, instead of doing the rhythmic part, is going 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4, like every single beat, which is even more off-putting because it's like it's not fun and games anymore. It's like something is coming for you. Sorry, I should have put a warning. But then leading into the pre-chorus, one thing that I liked, there's this like sort of open synth that you hear. It doesn't sound like the line ended from the verse and then a new line started for the pre-chorus for that open synth that you hear. It's because you were talking about the moves transitioning into each other, so I was like, wow, it's like the synth is doing that too. The synth that you heard in the verse is just like, now it's opened up. I really wanted to talk about the bridge.
Do it.
Because the bridge is great. So first, in the beginning of the bridge, it pulls back a lot because you've been hearing a lot of different sounds and like beat divides throughout this whole song. But then the bridge, suddenly, it's just piano chord for each chord change. It's just each measure. So it's like 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4. And then the only other thing besides that and his voice is clap sounds on 1 2 3 4. So it suddenly slowed down a lot. After that, you get to like the build up to the high note and like percussion comes back in, more percussion comes back in. But then the duet high note moment starts happening, right? And then you were talking about how it goes back and forth, like the da 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 da, back and forth, how their movements in the background are reflecting that. But also like every 2 beats, so da 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 da, and then the next one da 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 da, there's an extra background vocal layer that's being added, like some sort of ad lib. So I was like, wow, they end up with like 4 on top of the 2 voices. They end up with like 4 by the end, and it's great. Yeonho's note cuts out and Kaeyeon's note sustains. It's like super high, and then it like eventually fades out, right? But then the continued ad libs in the background after that for like the ending rest of the song are in that same super high register. Also, the way that it's being sung is really interesting to me because it might be attributed to the fact that it is so high pitched, and also his vocal style. It's sung so delicately, which could say a lot for like the storyline too, because it's like contrasted with like by the end of the song in the chorus instrumentally, all the layers that you've heard are back there. So like the more chaotic plunking percussions and like the bass and like just extra synths that you hear. So it's once again like a really interesting contrast. Last thing I'm gonna say is like the lyric change for the end final chorus, because after the bridge there's a chorus, but then they have that like additional stanza in the middle, and then the final trigger moment again, but the final trigger section, the lyrics are different. Storytelling again. But that's all I have to say.
Y'all, we literally just finished filming this reaction and we were sitting here and Anna's like getting ready to edit, I'm making thumbnails, and then you said bum bum bum. So I started singing GBTB and look at Anna and go, who's gonna pull the trigger? And then what? How did we not connect the dots earlier? Everything's connected. But anyway, we just had to add this in because we were so like... Anyways, okay, back to the TLDR. TLDR for this video is It's a very, very exciting day. It's very, very comeback day. We've both been waiting for this for a really long time. You can't tell how excited we are for this comeback. We love Very, Very a lot.
If you follow us on Twitter, you probably know.
Yeah, if you follow us on Twitter, you probably know. We love Very, Very a lot. We had high expectations for this because we know how talented they are in singing. We know how good their songs are. We know how good their performing and their dancing is. And they have just outdone themselves so much once again. And I can't wait to go listen to the rest of it.
And also, we are sending all the good vibes
Oh,
and
yeah.
well wishes to
Taehyun.
Taehyun, and hope he gets better, and that we'll get updates on how the performances are going to be happening soon. That being said, if you also love Very, 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 very much, and you want to talk with us more about this performance, about them, about anything really, feel free to reach out to us on our socials, which are linked in the cards. And as always, if you enjoyed this reaction video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn on your notification bell, and bye!